In 2008, everyone in the intelligence structure found out who he was. It was this individual whose name I don't like to say, who became president in 2008 of the United States.
I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
One of his code names was Renegade. His real name was Barry Sortaro, but he adopted a different name for his political career. When they ran him for president, the cabal, basically, this was the culmination of so many of their plans for so many years. His mission was to destroy the United States from within, one institution at a time.
Y'all, this story is crazy. The deep state has struck again, but this time it's almost like a mutiny. Allegedly, the CIA raided Tulsi Gabbard's office. And when you hear what they went in there to take, it'll blow your mind. And you got to wonder why. Because President Trump, in case you didn't know, President Trump signed an executive order demanding that the complete JFK files be released and the complete MKUltra files be released. And if you don't know what MKUltra is, MKUltra was a mind control program that the CIA started back in the 40s. And they kept it going for years with the whole Timothy Leary and Tune In and Drop Out and LSD and their whole fight against the counterculture where blacks and whites was coming together and people wanted peace, not war. Well, they did everything they could to get people to drop out, get them hooked on drugs, and created all types of wars and more distrust amongst the people. And look at what we have now. It seems like the people were close to really putting an end to the violence and people going at each other in the late 60s. They were really moving towards that. But the CIA and the government at that time couldn't have it.
Millions of dollars would be spent on LSD research at universities throughout the country. And word would begin to spread on campus about this so-called mind-blowing drug. And suddenly, there was the counterculture of the 60s.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Dr. Timothy Leary, the 1960s Johnny Appleseed of LSD.
The CIA funded and supported and encouraged hundreds of young psychiatrists to experiment with this drug. The fallout from that was that the young psychologists began taking it themselves, discovering that it was an intelligence-enhancing, consciousness-raising experience.
I know that some of the studies in which the CIA had supported used as subjects people who later became strong proselytizers of LSD. So, in that sense, yes, I think it did sustain the perpetuation of the use of the drug. And it's rather ironic, isn't it?
The counter case that I would make in relationship to that is to remember that the people who were doing the research were people who would be doing the research regardless of who was a sponsor. I don't think anybody working in that time in the remotest ever thought that it would blow up into the kind of thing that it did.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. But for the moment, at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius.
Well, they raided Tulsi Gabbard's office. Now, I know when you saw the thumbnail of this video, you saw Barack Obama on it. Wait until you see the expose that was done on Obama linking him to the CIA. Is going to make your jaw drop, especially when you hear about the nefarious things that he allegedly did under the guise of being a CIA asset. So let's start with this one. I'm going to kick this off with Jesse Waters, who breaks down what happened at Tulsi Gabbard's office. And then we've had an update since then. So check this out. Stick with me because this video goes deep. And let me tell you something. If you're not, this is not for the faint of heart. It's not. And what you're going to see on Obama, if you're somebody that don't like truth and it'll hurt you, you better tune away because this one will change how you view him forever. The whole thing was manufactured. But we'll check this out first.
Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MKUltra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it moments ago.
The reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MKUltra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
Can the CIA overrule the president? No, the CIA cannot overrule the president. The CIA cannot even overrule the director of national intelligence. In 1975, the Church Committee, which became the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, specifically ordered DCI William Colby to release all of the MKUltra files. He famously went back to CIA headquarters and ordered that all of the files be destroyed. 85% of them were destroyed. He was held in contempt of Congress, and then CIA employees lined the halls and contributed cash to pay for the fine that he was ordered to pay. We only know what we know about MKUltra because of the 15% of the files that weren't destroyed. These are among those 15% of the files. They are mandated to be declassified. The American people have a right to know what is in these files, and the CIA can't raid offices, least of all the offices of the Director of National Intelligence. It's just, real life isn't supposed to work this way. This right. is crazy. This is something out of a movie, but the CIA was experimenting with LSD on willing and unwilling participants during the Cold War for intelligence operations and to exploit people, and it didn't go well a lot of the time, and they threw it all in a wastebasket, right? Like, it never really worked. Is that why they don't want anybody to know about it? I think they don't want people to know any more than what we know about, for example, dosing innocent citizens of San Francisco, California, or a small village in France and putting LSD in the yeast at the only bakery in the village just to see if everybody in the village would go nuts, which they did, of course, or coming up with a program in San Francisco to hire prostitutes to dose Johns and see if they would cough up their innermost secrets. Ridiculous.
If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid. You hit that like button. I'll never ask you for a cash app, a super chat, or a donation. But you hitting that like button, it really helps the channel, helps YouTube put the video out there. And if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. And once you do, make sure that you hit the notification bell and turn on all. That way, you'll be notified when I upload new videos. And if you're new here and you want to wait to the end to hit that like button or hit that hype button, by all means do so. I just appreciate you watching. Now, let me get back to the video. See, what happened was when they were trying to create a truth serum. This is how LSD even came into being. They were trying to create a truth serum so that when they caught a soldier or caught somebody, they give them the truth serum and they just pour out all of their information, which is why you just heard them say that they were looking for ladies of the night to dose the Johns to see if they would cough up the information. They found out that it didn't work. People jumped out of windows. I mean, high-ranking government officials who was about to leak information on the program were dosed and literally, allegedly jumped out of windows on their own, even though some people think they were helped out of those windows.
Did you know the CIA secretly drugged thousands of Americans for 20 years? From 1953 to 1973, MKUltra turned ordinary people into unwilling test subjects, psychiatric patients, prisoners, regular citizens walking down the street. They were given LSD without their knowledge or consent. Frank Olson was a government scientist who attended a work retreat. His colleagues slipped him acid without telling him. 9 days later, he was dead. Fell from a hotel window under mysterious circumstances. At the Allen Memorial Institute, Dr. Donald Cameron practiced something called psychic driving. He kept patients in drug-induced comas for weeks, subjected them to electroshock therapy, played the same audio messages over and over while they were unconscious. The program had 149 different sub-projects, human mind control experiments hidden across universities and hospitals. When Congress started investigating, the CIA destroyed almost all the records. Most victims never learned they were test subjects. They suffered for decades, never knowing why. MKUltra proved that sometimes the most terrifying monsters wear government badges.
This stuff happened, and it didn't end. As a matter of fact, allegedly, MKUltra is still being used in Hollywood today, especially on child actors. They traumatize them to the point where their personalities splinter, which is why you hear a lot of celebrities having alter egos. And it seemed like it's just funny thing where Beyonce says that she felt when something came into her and she became Sasha Fierce. That is personality splitting. That is traumatization. The MKUltra, the butterfly effect. These things that they made movies into where people just think, oh, butterfly effect and da. No, this is real deal stuff. The Monarch Butterfly program, because with the Monarch Butterfly, when they're born, they know instinctively how to travel 2,000 miles around the world to meet their mate and to have more butterflies. And so what they did with these programs, they started doing things to the human brain, implanting ideas, creating Manchurian candidates. All of these things were done under MK Ultra, which allegedly ended. But if you've heard Roseanne Barr, she spoke about it, saying how strong it still is in Hollywood. Child actors, which is why when they turn 27, they seem like they just lose their mind because allegedly the programming breaks down. Now, the person who said that this raid took place is a stooge, or should I say a student, as you see right here, Fauci whistleblower. So this is a Fauci whistleblower who told Congress what was going on. As a matter of fact, I'll let you listen to what he say. But then after that, I'm going to follow it up with the latest news and wait until you see this expose on Obama, because he links into all of this. But check out the whistleblower.
The CIA illegally monitored the computer and phone usage of DIG personnel, their investigations, and contact with whistleblowers. These were Americans being spied upon illegally while executing duties directed by the president and under the authority of the Director of National Intelligence. One CIA contractor assisting with the DIG's investigation into the events that transpired between 2022 and 2023 was fired by the CIA one day after meeting with the DIG. When the DIG ceased operations, the CIA also took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MKUltra files being processed for declassification by D&I Gabbard. The legislative and executive branches will continue to be misinformed if this type of behavior is not addressed.
On the heels of all of the stuff that's taking place in the country right now, seniors, it's extremely important that you make sure you've got the best Medicare plan available, because this year, Medicare plans are expected to increase 10%. And that's $215 out of your Social Security check. And guess what? Some of your doctors may not be in network. Some of your prescriptions may no longer be covered. And that would suck for you to be going to visit your doctor to find out they're not in network, or for you to need a prescription to find out it's no longer covered. Why take the risk? With Chapter, you can reach out to Chapter, and a free phone call can last as short as only 20 minutes and speak to one of the highly skilled, unbiased professionals that will help you make sure you got the best Medicare plan available. If you've got the best, great. But if not, they can make sure you've got what you need. So use that number there on the screen, or visit the website at askchapter.org/realpolitics and let Chapter make sure you've got everything you need. Okay, now you heard that, and you heard them kept saying the word dig, a dig. Here's what a dig is. In an intelligence context, and let me make it a little bit bigger just to make sure you can see this. In an intelligence context, DIG most commonly stands for Directors Initiatives Groups, Defense Intelligence Group, or Deputy Inspector General. The specific meaning depends on the agency or the region. Directors Initiatives Group, DIG, a specialized task force or staff unit within an intelligence directorate, such as the U.S. Office of Director of National Intelligence, which is what we're speaking about here, established to investigate agency practices, increase transparency, and execute targeted policy reviews. So when we're talking about a DIG, when he kept referring to the DIGs, they're talking about the Directors Initiatives Groups directly linked to the Director of National Intelligence. ODNI. Tulsi Gabbard is the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. Now, since that was released, Tulsi Gabbard's office, as you see, denies Florida lawmakers' claim of CIA seizing JFK and MKUltra documents. And I'm going to read this really quick, and then we got to get to the Obama expose, because you'll see how it links directly to all of this, and it'll make your jaw drop. Florida Rep. Anna Paulina Luna claimed the CIA raided the Office of Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, seizing various files related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Project MKUltra. A spokesperson for the Director of National Intelligence disputed the report that the CIA raided the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Olivia Coleman, press secretary for the Office of Director of National Intelligence, responded to a now deleted post saying, "This is false. The CIA did not raid the DNI's office." On Wednesday, Rep. Luna alluded to the raid on X, posting a subpoena for the documents she referred to be taken. The letter addressed to CIA Director John Ratcliffe requesting the preservation of records related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Project MKUltra. What they're saying, We're sending a preservation notice. Docs need to be returned to ODNI, given that ODNI was given direction and authority by the president to declass RFK, MLK, and JFK, she said in the post. Regarding MKUltra, these were documents specifically requested by my task force and currently being used for our investigation. In the preservation letter, Luna referenced the testimony of a CIA employee gave before the United States Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, who testified the CIA took back 40 boxes of JFK and MKUltra files being processed for declassification by DNI Gabbard. A spokesperson for the CIA responded with an expose. The committee acted in bad faith by subpoenaing an agency officer for testimony today without notifying CIA, despite having already obtained closed-door testimony from the individual previously. The witness testifying today, that was the gentleman that we just watched, the witness testifying today is not appearing as a whistleblower in pursuit of truth, but instead in response to the subpoena issued by Chairman Paul, declassifying JFK documents. Upon taking office, President Trump directed the National Intelligence Director and the Attorney General to work together to release records related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In March last year, over 63,000 pages regarding the assassination were released. The president's order also sought to declassify the remaining federal records related to the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So they're saying that this whistleblower is lying, that the officers weren't raided, and he's actually there to spin the story. Okay. Now, let me tell you how all of this ties together, because you may say, damn, that's the deep state. The deep state is at it again to try to protect those involved in JFK, keep the public from knowing about MKUltra, which they claim ended, even though Hollywood admits that it hasn't, and what type of disruption they're doing by overriding what President Trump said. And you have to realize something. JFK, before his life was taken, he literally had already drafted out the plans to do what he called splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, because they had gotten so strong and so powerful that nobody knew what they were really doing. As a matter of fact, the CIA is not supposed to use those tactics on Americans. Propaganda was illegal against American citizens. But then there was an amendment made to what's called the Smith-Mundt Act. And when the Smith-Mundt Act was amended, it made it perfectly legal for the federal government and the agencies and the media to put out fake stories. I'm talking about complete lies to the American public, as it's the truth. Obama, his administration made the amendment. And guess when it took place, when it came into effect? 2016, as Trump was coming into office. So isn't it bizarre that Obama would legalize propaganda against Americans? We will find out the CIA, should I say, members of the deep state, because the CIA is a big organization and everybody in it is not some nefarious rogue agent, but you do have some within it. Those agents allegedly had acted to go and take those boxes back, which Tulsi Gabbard says never happened. But this Fauci whistleblower said it did. Is he telling the truth, or is he sowing discontent? Now, I want you to check out this story on Barack Obama, who was an asset of the CIA. And then it'll help you understand why the deep state does what it does, why we see all this anti-American stuff taking place, why we saw Obama giving literally billions in cash to the Iranians and the Islamic Republic. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to play it in full screen for you. Watch and listen, and please pay attention. Check this out.
JFK said, I'm going to take the CIA and break them into 1,000 pieces and scatter them to the winds. These agencies have only gotten worse and worse. There's been no accountability. These operations that they have run against the American people are completely public. The stuff is in the public domain. It's known. Operation Northwoods that the CIA did against the American people. Operation Mockingbird, to use elements in the mainstream media.
I just want to stop it for a second in case you did not notice that. That was Anderson Cooper. Now, what most people don't realize is Anderson Cooper, while in college, worked for the CIA. You know what they say? One CIA, always CIA. So isn't it funny that Anderson Cooper, who did not go to school for journalism, had no journalism experience, all of a sudden became one of the biggest anchors in the world on CNN for years, that we all call Communist News Network. Now you understand when President Trump was saying it's fake news, he meant it. He knew about the amendment. He knew about the propaganda. He also knew that Anderson Cooper, who's really a Vanderbilt, he's a Vanderbilt who changed his name, worked for the CIA. Now you understand why he and Don Lemon and fools like that spread their propaganda. I'll let it continue.
MKUltra. In 2008, something unbelievable happened for us in the FBI. We were getting lots of rumors about this high-level asset that worked for several intelligence agencies at the same time. He worked for the Saudi intelligence service. He worked for the CIA, and he was being developed as a political asset in Chicago, Illinois. He was not even a United States citizen, but it was said that he was a student visa and that he was a national from another country.
Not even a United States citizen, which is what Trump tried to tell everybody. He was not born in America. He was not. He was born in Kenya.
In 2008, everyone in the intelligence structure found out who he was. It was this individual whose name I don't like to say, who became president in 2008 of the United States.
I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
One of his code names was Renegade. His real name was Barry Soetoro, but he adopted a different name for his political career. When they ran him for president, the cabal, basically, this was the culmination of so many of their plans for so many years. His mission was to destroy the United States from within, one institution at a time. One of the things he did, of course, was he defunded our military. He brought down the resources that they got. But then he ordered our military in many, many instances and in various theaters to attack our allies and to defend and supply and help our enemies. That's exactly how he created ISIS. He would say publicly that the military were going to bomb our enemies, but then he would have the military actually bomb enemies of ISIS, our allies. He gave ISIS funding and equipment by basically ordering our military to take equipment into a certain theater and then abandon it. And the commanders would say, that's ridiculous. We'd just be handing that stuff over to ISIS. And the president's office would say, don't question orders, just follow your orders. And that was very common. That happened so many times that it demoralized our military. And basically, it took their heart away. It was an awful, awful thing.
Bush and Obama, well, there are pictures of Bush with his arm around 8-year-old Barack Obama because his stepdaddy, adopted daddy, Lolo Soetoro, had done a lifetime worth of business with the Bushes.
Wow.
Uncle George Herbert Walker, after whom George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 1 president, was named, founded Halliburton in 1946 in Oklahoma. And Lolo Soetoro had been international executive vice president for Standard Oil.
There was talk of him being a CIA asset.
Oh, well, yeah. See, he ran the death squads for the Indonesian army. On his own call, anyone could be assassinated. So when George Herbert Walker Bush became head of the CIA under the Ford administration, he just got with his old buddy in the oil business, Lolo Soetoro, and pulled off the hits. See, Barack's grandmother has been acknowledged as being the woman that operated the channels through which CIA money went to the Southwest Pacific. So she introduced her daughter, who had just had Barack, to Lolo Soetoro. And they got married, and Lolo Soetoro adopted Barack Obama. The name was changed to Barry Soetoro. Now, when he went to high school in Hawaii, I know about that high school. I almost sent my oldest son to it. I could afford it, but I didn't think he deserved it. 20 years ago, the tuition was $95,000 a year, not including room and board. When Obama went there, I've talked to 2 of his classmates. They independently state that the tuition, not including room and board, was $45,000. Now, Business Insider reports his income for 2017 at over $200 million net. That's after taxes, deductions, write-offs. For this last year, 2018, they reported it as $570+ million. And that's after all deductions, tax, right? Trump doesn't make that net.
Now, what do you think about that? You got a judge, and I've been telling people for years, because I did this research years ago. I knew his name was Barry Soetoro. I knew he went to a high school that was $45,000 a year back in the 70s and the 80s. I knew that you don't go to Harvard on government grants. You know what I'm saying? You don't go to Columbia on Pell grants. But yet he went to Harvard and to Columbia. I realized that when Trump said the birth certificate, if people want to know what made the left and the mainstream media attack President Trump, it wasn't him flipping Republican and running. It was the fact that he shined light on Obama's birth certificate. And guess what Obama's one of his first acts was when he took office? He sealed his records. I'm talking about high school transcripts, middle school transcripts, birth certificates, everything. Sealed it up where no one can ever see it. Why would you do that? And then they tried to shine light on Trump. Oh, show your tax return. Do this, that, and the other. They didn't do that for Obama, who himself, in his own book, which we find out now was ghostwritten, which was Dreams of My Father. He didn't even write that. We find out that in the book, it tells of the story of him being born in Kenya. He wasn't born in America. He lived in Indonesia as a Muslim. That's what they practice over there, which is why he's so partial to the Muslims. But when Trump was saying it, they attacked him. No, it had validity, it had truth. And if we learn anything about Trump right now, we realize the man don't lie. Matter of fact, he's brutally honest. And people tend not to like that, especially the lamestream media and the demon rats. They just love lying to you with a smile on your face and then tearing your insides up afterwards. They believe that that's proper. You don't tell people the truth. You lie to them with class and destroy them is what the demon rats think. Where Trump is like, look, I'm going to tell it to you straight. Like it or dislike it, it is what it is. And we find out. So all of this crap we see where the agencies want to stop certain things coming out. Or you got rogue people in the agencies trying to block Trump. Understand whose fingerprints are all on it. The man who we allowed to sit at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for 8 years. The man who mysteriously became literally the messiah of the left. All of the Democrat presidents they had before. Why this one man who didn't accomplish anything as the president of the United States besides legalizing gay marriage, giving transgenders massive rights, giving our enemies billions in cash. Think about it. And giving us the ACA, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, which became unaffordable immediately when they instituted it. Everything he said was a lie, but he did it with a good-looking smile and charisma, smoking a Newport, shooting a jumper for the blacks, talked properly in a very etiquette, made the whites feel comfortable, tried to act like he was down with the Boricuas and the brothers with the Latinos. He is a chameleon. And you heard them say he was working with multiple agencies. And remember what his code name was? Renegade. That sounds so socialist and Marxist, and it makes sense. So I just wanted to bring you this to let you know that things are being exposed. And what you're not hearing in the lamestream media is that there have been subpoenas going out. The RICO has started. You heard about Comey on the 8645 thing. The lamestream media isn't telling you. Subpoenas have gone out to high-level intelligence people and politicians that are being subpoenaed to testify about what happened in 2020, about the Russia hoaxes. I keep telling everybody, the closer we get to the midterms, you're going to see RICO cases and arrests start dropping like flies. And I'm here for it. So if you stayed and you watched this, tell me what you think. I would love to hear your feedback. And I appreciate you. I thank you for watching the video and for your support, especially those of you who leave a comment, who always show love. If I could name all of you, I would. It's just so many. But just know I love you and I appreciate you sincerely and truly from the top and bottom of my heart. If you haven't already hit that like button, and if you are not subscribed already, please subscribe. Most importantly, make sure that you stay safe and that you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.